everyone, and welcome to TD Plays, and what a beautiful day here in Ottawa it is for some soccer. Graham Ivory alongside me, Tyler McDonald, as Ottawa Fury FC look to take on the Rochester rivals, the cross-border rivals of Ottawa Fury FC. And Graham, last time out in the USL, Fury lost 1-0 to Toronto FC 2 in an away match. A tough one for Fury. They had their chances but just couldn't convert.
Yeah, look, it was a match where we saw a little bit of a different type of performance from Ottawa in terms of how they played. A lot more possession-based, and they owned this match in every statistical category possible. Unfortunately, they couldn't muster a goal. Lots of chances, loss of shots, but as Paul Dalglish has said in the offseason, or in the break between the game last week and again this week, it's imperative that they finish those chances, especially against the side in Rochester this afternoon, who boasts the second best defensive record in the USL Eastern Conference. If we recall the game from Rochester about 4 weeks ago, getting chances against this side, they do not give up very much, and we'll see, I think, 8-9 of the same starters from that game 4 weeks ago here this afternoon.
Andre Campbell suspended in that game after receiving his second yellow, and that's his second red card of the season. He won't be in the lineup. He'll get in the lineup as well, but it's a different formation for Fury. Just quick thoughts before we go on that formation.
Yeah, look, we've seen a lot of different formations from the club this year. Where they seem at their best is when they have that three set up at the back and then the numbers going forward. For me, the most important thing for Ottawa is when they play with that high line of pressure. It's when they take away the time and the space from the opposing defenders. And at the standard of play at this level, that's when you always cause errors. It seemed to be their bread and butter to start the season. They've been forced due to injuries and a few other situations to shift things around. And I think the formation that they have this afternoon, less Andre Campbell, who I think will be missed here today, but I think it's a pretty good formula that Paul Dalglish has in place for this afternoon's match.
We'll take a quick break. When we come back, Graham will be on the call with Carlos Verde, and we'll be live from TD Place as Ottawa Fury FC take on the Rochester Rhinos. This is Ottawa Fury FC Soccer.
Welcome back to TD Place. Graham Ivory alongside Carlos Verde as Ottawa Fury FC gets set to take on the Rochester Rhinos. A crucial match for both clubs as Ottawa kicks off the second half of their USL season. They find themselves on the outside looking in to start a 4-game homestand against the Rochester Rhinos. Carlos, a big match this afternoon, especially for Ottawa. Big 3 points up for grabs here at home.
Absolutely. Everything is so tight in this USL Eastern Conference, Graham. Rochester just 4 points up on the Fury with a game in hand. This is a very big 3 points, and the fact is the Fury are going to want to change the tone, change the discussion around this team. Tough last 5 games, just 1 win in their last 5. They lose at Louisville, they lose in Toronto. They have to find a way to jumpstart the offense, and as you mentioned with Ty on the pregame, Andre Campbell out. Who's going to replace that creativity on the left flank for the Fury?
Let's have a look at our starting 11 for Ottawa Fury FC, brought to you by Gabriel Pizza, your bigger, better pizza. Callum Irving getting his 21st consecutive start in the goal. Kyle Venter, Ramon Martin Del Campo, Shane McElhaney across the back 3 for Ottawa. Aaron Muckengilwa, Ryan Williams, Gerardo Bruna, Lance Roseboom, and Eddie Edward, the 5 across the midfield. Carl Howarth and Steven DeSantos, the 2 across the top for Ottawa. Not really much of a surprise here. With Andre Campbell out, as you mentioned, Carlos, we see Aaron Muckengilwa drawn to the lineup. Haven't seen a lot of him for a while now, but did perform Wednesday in that friendly against the Montreal Impact here at TD Place. Ottawa did lose by a 1-0 score, but when Muckengilwa came on in that second half, you really saw a lot of energy from him. He might be 5'3", 5'4" in stature, but he brings about him a lot of pace and a lot of energy, with Ottawa really needs out on that left side to try and replace what Andre Campbell brings to their game.
Absolutely, and we saw it last week in the 1-0 loss against TFC2, Graham, where it was Andre Campbell that was creating virtually all of the offense for the Fury through the first 60, 70 minutes of that match. He's gone. Muckengilwa comes in. This is his 4th appearance of the season. One of his few starts, I believe it's his 3rd start. He's going to need to be that offensive centerpiece on that left flank, because a lot of the offense over the last, I'd say 180 minutes, maybe even 270 minutes of the season for Fury has been on the flank. So it's going to be up to Muckengilwa and, of course, Eddie Edward on that right flank to try and really create and service good balls in as well off the flank.
The substitutes for Ottawa this afternoon: backup goalkeeper David Palme, John Barden, Cito, Tucker Hume, Jamar Dixon, Sergio Minicio, and the newcomer Adonijah Reed, who joined the club last week from FC Dallas. Was on the subs bench last week against Toronto FC2. Did feature in Wednesday's friendly against the Impact, and will look to earn his first minutes with the club here this afternoon as Ryan Williams goes in. Hard challenge there against Jordan Dover, the Canadian. And as we have a look at the starting 11 for the visiting Rochester Rhinos, in goal, it's Thomas Gomez. He is the USL Golden Glove winner from 2016, I should say, and is riding an impressive shutout streak right now that carries him at 252 minutes. He is really shaping up into form, and this is why we see Rochester boasting the best defensive record, or the second best defensive record in the Eastern Conference. The back line: Bradley Camden, Ryan Felix, Joseph Farrell, and the Canadian Jordan Dover at right back. Across the midfield: Mike Garzi, Canardo Forbes, Wal Fall, Sofian Turgu, Ryan James, and up top, Jochen Graf, who has 3 goals on the season. Wal Fall leads the Rhinos in scoring with 4. One of the main men to watch, Canardo Forbes, 2 goals and 3 assists. He's the man that gets things going through the Rhinos midfield.
Absolutely, and I mean, he's a powerhouse. What he does is he runs, he puts pressure on the back 4. In this case, it'll be Fury's back 4. He also has real good touch and has a knack for creating opportunities and making those around him better. So again, keys for Rochester: get Forbes involved early in that transition game. That quick kind of direct soccer is what we're used to seeing from the Rhinos offensively. Wal Fall, the holding midfielder out of Germany. He has a lot of pro experience, Graham, playing in the Regional Liga and 3rd Division in Germany, as well as the Austrian 1st Division. He leads this team in scoring as essentially a number 6 type of player. And, I mean, that says all you need to know about what Wal Fall brings to this Rhinos team.
Yeah, they list it as kind of a 4-4-2 formation, but they really play a 4-1-4-1. Should mention the subs for Rochester: backup goalkeeper Dan Lind, based out of Rochester; defender Ryan Lee; midfielder Brandon Beresford; Stefan DeFrager; Jalen Brown; Ryan Bukimia; and Todd Pratzner, the defender, are the substitutes for the visiting Rhinos this afternoon. play forward. Good run by Eddie Edwards, unable to get there in time, just a little bit heavy. As Carl Howard tried to slot that one out to the right side for Eddie Edward.
And that's going to be one of the keys for the Fury in this game, Graham, is getting those flanks involved. We saw it against TFC2 last weekend where a lot of the offense for Paul Dalglish's side came on the flanks with more so Andre Campbell, but Eddie Edward as well. And I think against a Rochester team that's very compact, they're good at getting 9-10 guys behind the ball in their own half. The Fury are going to really have to try and stretch them horizontally this afternoon.
Good segue into the 3 keys to an Ottawa victory this afternoon, Carlos. Key number 1, finishing. Fury FC have done the work to create some scoring opportunities, but they must finish them this afternoon against the second best defensive side in the USL Eastern Conference. Key number 2, win the battles. 15 of Ottawa's 16 games this season have been decided by a goal or less. Expect another close match this afternoon, which is why Ottawa must win the battles. And key number 3, find a groove. Today is the start of the second half of the USL season for Fury FC, and the first of 4 straight games at home. Ottawa must find that winning groove during these next 4 home contests.
Absolutely, big homestand, and given the way that their last 2 efforts away from home have gone in the league, Graham, especially important. They're playing some good sides. Rochester's in here, Charlotte's in here later in August. FC Cincinnati as well is coming down the pipe in the second half, but they also have very winnable games at home in the form of TFC2. And again, at this point, the teams below you in the standings, if you want to make that playoff push, if you're Fury FC, you're going to have to take care of business and start regularly collecting 3 points against the teams below you in the USL East.
Yeah, no question, just as it is equally important to pick up points against teams that you're going to be battling for a spot in the postseason, like the team they're playing here this afternoon as Muckingilwa goes down. Canardo Forbes gets a good touch on that one, plays it forward. Lance Roseboom back to cover, but now it's Jochen Graf. Graf slots it out wide, and offside flag is up. Will fall.
And you see
the offside position got in behind Kyle Venter.
You see there what Rochester like to do. They have Jochen Graf up top as the lone striker, Graham, and what he's going to do is he's going to try and hold play up. He's not necessarily the guy that's going to finish plays off, but he's certainly the man that they're going to look to, to use a hockey term, headman the puck. And they're going to headman the ball to him, and he's basically going to distribute to the wings where you have Forbes, Sofiane Tergu, and Ryan James out left. That's how Rochester's going to play this game. They're playing for the point away from home. The 4-1-4-1 tells us that. They're sitting deep, and if they are going to create something, it's going to likely come from Graf distributing the ball up top.
Well, points away from home are something that Rochester has done well this season, picking up points in 5 of their 7 road fixtures. Just 1 win, but 4 draws and only 2 losses away from home, so they're certainly well versed in the value of getting points away from home. Throw in coming now for Ottawa Fury FC, deep in Rochester's defensive third. Carl Howarth looking for the big throw here. Looking in for Steven DeSantos. That one headed away, comes out to Eddie Edward. Edward takes a touch, presses it wide. Edward's still going. Now the Rhinos are able to win it back. Looking to break down the left side. Looking for Graf, but Lance Roseboom, good vision there to step forward, still going. Now he finds it to Ryan Williams in the middle. Touch, gets it over to Carl Howarth. Howarth tries to leave it for Muckingilwa. Can't get a clean touch on it. Now Gerardo Bruna back to help defend, to take it away from the Canadian Jordan Dover. Picked up by Rochester from Durham United in the League One Ontario.
Graham, interesting note about this Rochester Rhinos back 4. 3 of the starting 4 defenders for Bob Lilly's team are NCAA graduates, and that's interesting. You're starting to see that become more and more of a path here in the 21st century for players to turn pro, especially with leagues like the NASL and more importantly the United Soccer League here. More teams, more opportunities, a lot of job opportunities for college graduates.
Ball played over the top, flag stays down. Rochester still in possession here, but errant ball into the penalty area. That'll easily be dealt with by Callum Irving, who makes his 21st consecutive start for Ottawa Fury FC. Of course, not including Wednesday's friendly. He was given the night off to rest as David Palme, and was able to get the start and really looked good in that game. Wasn't necessarily tested a lot. Andrew McRae Forte also came in just after the 60th minute mark on a very special night that saw former Fury and Canadian men's national team captain Julian de Guzman come out of retirement for the one match. Came on in the 58th minute to play the final half hour. Lance Roseboom pushes out wide. Shane McElhaney looks for an option. Back to the captain Roseboom, now to Gerardo Bruna. Bruna slots this one through the middle. Was in behind Dos Santos, bit of a push on the back there, and now Rochester look to recover here. That one well out of the reach of Jochen Graf. Our officials this afternoon, Chris Grabus is in the middle, assistants Sean Horsby and Stephanie Fortin, and the fourth official is Laius Arfa. And played back to Tomas Gomez. Al Venter will just let this one bounce into touch and will take over just inside his own half.
Graham, really interested to see how Steven Dos Santos is going to fare as the lone big man up top here in Paul Dalglish's 3-3-5-2/3-4-2-1, depending on the phase of play. But he's a guy that scored 21 goals for this Rhinos team over the last 2 years in the USL. So he obviously knows the personnel, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see how he fares up top. He is the lone man. The service has been an issue at times over the last 4 or 5 games during this tough stretch for the Fury. But if he gets service, he certainly has the finish. And it's going to be really interesting to see whether or not he's able to poach one here on his new home turf against his former side.
Foul called against Kyle Venter, and it's the captain, Kenardo Forbes, the Jamaican. 2 goals, 3 assists on the year for the Rhinos. Will deliver this one in. First to it was Shane McElhaney to head that one away. Rochester still in possession on the far side. Ryan Felix over to Jordan Dover on the near side. Back into the middle for Farrell. Tries to hit that one long. That one off target for Kenardo Forbes. That one actually off the boot of Wall Fall. Goal kick for Callum Irving. Dos Santos heads that one forward for Ryan Williams. Touch gets away from him. Takes a deflection off of Dos Santos into touch. Forbes. In for Farrell. Ryan Felix, who had the lone goal in that 1-0 victory for the Rochester Rhinos back on June 17th. Corner kick from Kenardo Forbes. That one came in the first half, and that was the decisive goal in the game. 12th minute, 0-0. Irving sends this one over the top, headed on by Dos Santos. Williams giving chase, forces Gomez to come out of his goal and clear that one into touch.
And there you see what that big man up top, similar to what Rochester's going to try and do with Jochen Graf up top. You had Steven Dos Santos with a pretty flick on, creating that danger opportunity. It was a well-weighted flick on with the head by Dos Santos. And that's something that we've seen more from the Fury this year under Paul Dalglish, is whether it's Steven Dos Santos or Tucker Hume, whoever it may be up top, he likes having that big man to A, hold up play, and B, be a threat in the air. And we've seen it. Dos Santos has won a number of essentially free headers because he's just so much bigger than a lot of the defenders he's going up against, has a decent vertical for a big man as well. And you want to see more of that too if you're the Fury. It's a way to create chances when they've been somewhat starved of them recently.
Gerardo Bruna sends that one out to the left, looking for Aaron Muckingilwa. That one a bit too heavy for Muckingilwa to get on the other end of. Should mention that we did talk about Andre Campbell missing this match to serve the one-match suspension after picking up a second yellow that resulted in a red card against TFC2. Ono Obasi remains out with an ankle injury. And both Jimmy Chamar Sanon and Thomas Mayer-Giguère are away participating at the Francophone Games.
Campbell's absence certainly felt. He was, for my money, the best player against TFC2 in last week's defeat, and I think he's really grown into his role on the left flank for the Fury.
Well, certainly brings a good degree of speed, consistency, energy down that left side. Very responsible player, and also produces some flair going forward. Roseboom sends this one over the top, looking for Eddie Edward down that right side. First touch, able to keep it in, now tries to get it to the goal line, but Rochester able to win it back. That one from Bradley Camden. Felix puts this one forward. It's Turgu in there looking for it. Comes to DeSantos, but the offside flag is up as he came back from an offside position. 0-0, 14th minute here at TD Place.
And Graham, I got to mention, it's a fairly young back four for the Rochester Rhinos, all aged between 22 and 24, and a couple of them are in their rookie professional seasons out of school. But how about the two guys on the flank? Jordan Dover, the Canadian out of Green Bay University, and Bradley Camden. Interesting, one of these foreign players from France that ended up playing 4 years at UNLV for the Runnin' Rebels. Both of them have looked very comfortable so far in their debut seasons, and I think it's a positive going forward for Rochester that they can find this talent in a place that, you know, traditionally hasn't produced that much in the way of professional prospects, but the NCAA game, clearly enough talent for this second best defense in the USL East.
Well, fans might remember another player who graduated from UNLV, and that was first ever signing in club history in Nicky Patterson. But certainly the kind of the path to pro model that has been set up with players playing in Super Y League, US Development League, through the academy system, and then you look at NCAA, you look at the PDL system that's also part of the USL family, then the jump to USL, partnership with Major League Soccer. The pathway's there and the opportunities are there for these players. There's no question about that, including, as you mentioned, with Camden coming from France, the international ones as well. This one played over the top. Graf is in, he's in behind the keeper, going to get a touch, and he does, and he's opened the scoring here in the 15th minute. Jochen Graf able to get in behind the Ottawa defense. And just a simple ball that's played forward. And Del Campo can't get there in time. Graf is able to chip Callum Irving, no one else there back to cover, and Graf with the simple tap in to give the visitors the 1-0 lead here in the 15th minute.
Well, and it's a lovely ball forward. I believe it was played by Ryan James from the left flank, and Graf just quite simply showing some great pace for a big man. Chips Irving, who got a touch to it, and then races to his own ball, beats all three of the back line from the Fury to the lead pass and then to his own chip, and really just a fantastic finish for Graf. That's going to be his 4th goal of the year, and well, the Rhinos out to a good start here on the road. It's a bit of a nightmare start for the Fury, though.
Well, something really out of nothing, just ball played over the top through the midfield, and Graf was already running, able to get in behind Ramon Martin Del Campo and send it beyond Callum Irving to give the visitors the 1-0 lead. Howarth plays it into the middle, and McElhaney goes down and remains on the turf. Ball be played into touch here as they have a look at him, and you don't see Shane McElhaney down on the turf very often.
That looks pretty serious. He's not a guy, as you mentioned, that stays down very often. It was a collision in the midfield.
It looks like it's his right ankle as Howarth kind of slots the ball into the middle for him.
And I think he collided with Mike Garzi there, and it just looked like a 50-50 ball, and he might have twisted something, ankle, knee, but doesn't look good for the Irish defender. And well, with Onu Obasi already out for the Fury, they can ill afford too many more injuries on the back end.
As we have a break here, an opportunity to look at the USL standings right now. We'll focus on the Eastern Conference. Charleston Battery leading the way on 35 points, 6 points clear of Louisville City FC on 29, albeit they do have 2 games in hand on Charleston, as do the Charlotte Independents, who are on absolute tear right now. 5 consecutive wins, 6 games unbeaten as they've climbed up the table to 3rd on 28 points. Level on points with the Tampa Bay Rowdies, who are in 4th but have played 19 games, and their struggles continue. They picked up a draw, a 1-1 draw with Orlando City B midweek. 5th is Bethlehem Steel on 26. Then you have Cincinnati and Rochester, 6-7 on 24. Orlando City B holding down the 8th and final playoff spot on 22 points. And Ottawa 2 points back in 10th spot of Orlando on 20 with a record of 5 wins, 5 draws, 6 losses.
The crazy thing about the Charlotte Independents, they've won 5 in a row, but it's the way that they're winning games, Graham. They're putting up 3 spots, 5 spots on teams, which is something that we haven't seen a whole lot of in the USL East. I mean, a lot of tight defensive games, 0-0, 1-0s are what we're accustomed to seeing in a lot of cases, and Charlotte is just running roughshod over the competition right now in the USL East.
Yeah, second highest scoring team in the East behind the Charleston Battery, who have 37 goals for inside 17 games, as Rochester come looking for a second one, but that pass, bit of miscommunication there, and Eddie Edward able to step in, and that one rolls out for a goal kick. 1-0 as we tick over into the 20th minute here at TD Place. Rochester leading on that 15th minute goal by Jochen Graf.
And it was quite a finish for Graf, his 4th of the year. And again, we saw just on that play up the left flank on the last sequence, guess who was in the middle of it for the Rhinos, Graham? It was Kenardo Forbes, the former Waterhouse standout in Jamaica. He brings pace, he brings touch. He can really do it all, and he deservedly has the captain's armband here for Bob Lilly's team.
Captain Lance Roseboom plays it to Del Campo, now out to the left side for Kyle Venter. Venter surveys his option, has to take a touch back towards midfield. Del Campo. Roseboom to McElhaney. It's a good couple of touches since taking that knock. That one headed forward by DeSantos. Can't get it cleanly as Williams chases that one down, forcing Ryan Felix to clear, and that one goes into touch.
Expect more of that no-nonsense defense from Rochester. They've got the early goal away from home, and they were already sitting back in a 4-1-4-1, defensive-minded, and now with the lead, expect them to stack at least 8 or 9 guys behind the ball at all times in their own half.
Well, this is kind of this is Rochester Rhinos soccer, if you will. This is how they play, and has certainly proved effective for them so far this season, as well as on the whole. And Bob Lilly has been here for a lengthy period of time and certainly knows how to win games in the USL.
Former Vancouver Whitecaps bench boss as well, going back to the mid-2000s.
Yeah, coached a former assistant coach of Ottawa Fury FC and Martin Nash.
They used to play at Swangard. I remember that out in Vancouver. Nice older venue in Burnaby.
Here's a chance now, Ryan Williams. Oh, that pass in behind Carl Howarth, looking for Eddie Edward, but very well read there by Bradley Camden. And now in transition, it's Wall Fall. Ryan James. They move it around to the left side, Jordan Dover. Garzi plays it over to the far side for Camden. So Rhinos just slow the pace down right now. Wall Fall. All the way back for Ryan Felix. Kenardo Forbes right in front of the Ottawa bench. This one played in. Offside flag is up. Not a bad idea as Jordan Dover ghosted in behind the Ottawa back line, but was about 2 yards too early. The offside flag goes up.
And it's interesting, the Rhinos declared a 4-1-4-1 before this game, Graham, formation-wise, but to me, it looks like the left backs and right backs are almost pushing up as wing-back style players on the outside of the defense, and then Wall Fall and Kenardo Forbes are basically all over the place. Their number 6 is a rover, and Kenardo Forbes goes where the ball is.
Eddie Edward plays this one through, unable to get enough power on it as Steven DeSantos was just in behind the ball there, collected by Thomas Gomez. Good hit there in transition as Ryan Williams let it go on that ball from Carl Howarth. That's where Ottawa can be dangerous, is when they attack with that pace. Because you have that big body man in Steven DeSantos, just those bigger players naturally draw the ire of the defenders, which often opens up channels for the speedsters like Williams, like Carl Howarth, like Eddie Edward.
Absolutely, and speaking of Dos Santos, he's a guy who broke the 10-goal mark in both of his years with Rochester. Thus far this season, he's only got 3, I believe, for the Fury, and he's a guy that in the second half is going to be looking to improve his goal total. Now, granted, he did battle injuries throughout the first couple of months of the season, Graham, and he really, I think, has only been fully fit the last month, maybe 5 weeks, but granted, Dos Santos is a big man. He creates opportunities for himself with his size, as you mentioned, as well as for others, and he'll be expecting a much more productive second half of the season, because thus far as 2017, I think it's fair to say, has been maybe a little bit disappointing, not as clinical as he would like in front of the goal, but again, he's a big man with a decent touch, great in the air, and I think if the Fury are going to turn things around offensively in the second half, it's going to start with Dos Santos.
Foul called in the midfield. This one played forward. Graf in there looking for it. Callum Irving with a bauble there, and is able to snuff that one out right on the edge of the penalty area, with Graf looking for a loose ball.
Nervous moments, but again, big man. That time it was Wall Fall playing well up from his original defensive mid position, and a nice flick on just in that danger zone between Irving and the oncoming Graf. It was a great ball. Nice touch, I should say, from Fall.
Yeah, Fall certainly seems to have that kind of carte blanche to go forward whenever he decides to. Now Carl Howarth dancing his way through the midfield, out wide to Muckingilwa. His delivery is blocked by Jordan Dover, and that will win Ottawa corner here in the 25th minute.
But you see the vision from Carl Howarth picking out Muckingilwa on that left flank through a maze of Rhino bodies, and that's what Carl Howarth brings. Now that he's back, he's fully fit, he's getting the starts that he needs to get into form, and again, another guy that you'd expect to have a better second half.
It'll be Howarth delivering the corner here. Sends this one in. One headed away, falls to Ryan Williams. First touch in behind Muckingilwa, able to recover. Ottawa maintaining possession here, but now back inside their own half. It's the captain, Lance Roseboom. Forced all the way back to his goalkeeper and Callum Irving. Irving well out of his net, now outlets to Roseboom. Ramon Martin Del Campo, forced back to Irving again. And Wall Fall again giving chase, this time all the way up in the Ottawa penalty area.
It really is a pair of rovers with him and Canardo Forbes, but thus far it's worked very well for the Rhinos. They've got a solid back four, and that's where a lot of their strength comes from. I mean, when you can grind out 0-0 and 1-0 results on a consistent basis, you know that the back four are solid despite the age.
Dover into the middle for Ryan James as the two Canadians connect. James, a native of Mississauga. Dover from Ajax. Farrell. Felix now to Camden. Rochester just simply moving the ball around to the space that they're given. Canardo Forbes, the captain now. Ryan Felix gets inside the Fury half, gives way to Forbes. Forbes again surveys his option, doesn't like what he sees, and goes back to Farrell. Again to Forbes. Dover under pressure. Carl Howarth giving chase, turns off that nicely. Gets it back to Canardo Forbes. Howarth again giving chase. Rochester really trying to slow the pace of this game down. Played it forward. Wall Fall flicks it over. Groff back to Fall. Collides with Gerardo Bruna. No foul called despite protests from Fall. Cleared forward but headed away, and now Eddie Edward in possession for the Fury. 28th minute here at TD Place. Rochester Rhinos leading by a 1-0 score. Jochen Graf with the opener in the 15th minute. Muckingilwa tries to push it beyond Dover. And in the effort to win it back, he'll be charged with a foul.
You can really see this Rhinos team is tactically sound, Graham. They know their philosophy and especially away from home in Rochester, they stick to it. They stick to it. They take the chances that they're given, like that kind of half chance out of nowhere that led to the Groff opener. But once they're up or when it's 0-0, they're just going to slow the pace of the game down. They're going to control the midfield. And as we head into a water break here, it is very hot at TD Place here in the nation's capital today. I was sweating through my suit earlier, but first 30 minutes, or 28 minutes, I should say, not terrible for the Fury, but I think that they're going to want to try and do a little bit more with the possession that they do have. We saw it with Muck and Gilwa there on the left flank, Graham, just trying to get around Dover and losing the one-on-one battle. A couple of balls mishit, a couple of flick-ons from Dos Santos that just went a hair's breadth out of the reach of teammates, and it's nearly there, but it's not quite clinical enough in the build-up to create those top chances so far for the Fury.
Well, strategically, you can certainly see the Rhinos trying to force Ottawa to play up their left side or Rochester's right side, and knowing that, you know, Andre Campbell isn't here this afternoon, and looks like we might even be seeing a substitute coming up for Ottawa here as John Barden.
Likely for McElhenney, I'd think.
Yeah, so it will be Shane McElhaney coming out of the game here, so whatever knock he took is not something that they are willing to risk the rest of this match. So Paul Dalglish forced to burn a sub here in the 30th minute.
And that's a rock in the heart of the Ottawa defense that's coming out now too, as well as McElhenney has played all the minutes possible essentially through this point of the season, and for the Fury, it's a big loss in the heart of the defense, and you're looking at Ramon Martin del Campo as a guy that might have to step up in his absence to lead the back line.
Back underway now, long ball played forward. Del Campo wins that header in the air. Muck and Gilwa unable to keep it in play. Bernardo Forbes will give way on the throw to Jordan Dover. Dover tried to find Wall Fall as he's battles with Venter. Now it's Forbes winning it back for Rochester. Tries to get it to the goal line. Good work there by Muck and Gilwa to come away with it. Now Kyle Venter. Nifty little touch there to Callum Irving, given chase by Groff. Turns out wide to Eddie Edward, touch heavy. Rochester looking to win it back here. And they'll do so still inside the Ottawa half.
It's very defensive from the Fury right now, Graham, as they're allowing Rochester all the possession in the midfield, and I'd like to see a little bit more of a push-up. I know we're still in the first half here, just past the half-hour mark, but I'd like to see a little bit more pressure on the ball from the Fury, because the longer they chase this game, the more tired they're going to be in this heat in the second half.
Yeah, 29 degrees the temperature at kickoff here this afternoon. Dover under pressure from Ryan Williams, forced back to Joseph Farrell. Farrell looking for an option, plays this one long. Del Campo having to track back. Good first touch there to get away from Jochen Groff, the goal scorer. Sends this one into touch, and Rochester will maintain possession inside the Ottawa half. Fall into Groff. Looking for Forbes. That one poked away by Gerardo Bruna. Bradley Camden tries to step up, and a bit too heavy of a touch there, and that one out for a goal kick. Rochester continuing to lead 1-0 through 32 minutes.
And again, you talk about players that maybe will be hoping for a bit more in the second half offensively. Gerardo Bruno, one of those players. We know he has the touch, the Real Madrid/Liverpool Youth Academy product, and I know he's playing in more of a central midfield role as opposed to a center attacking role, but you just like to see maybe a little bit more creativity, maybe a couple of more touches as well for him.
John Barden going to be called for the foul there. Going to the book for it as well.
Fairly open and shut case as he impedes a player on what would have been a break, and you know, in that situation, Graham, there doesn't even have to be that much contact. If there is contact and it stops a clear break, the referee has no other option but to go to the book. This is a dangerous spot here as well for the Rhinos. They're pretty good from set pieces. They have a lot of athletic guys. You look at Wallfall, you look at Bernardo Forbes that can deliver good balls and finish good balls as well. We saw the cross in the 1-0 loss in Rochester, that it was a similar situation, similar spot on the pitch where Fury conceded. It's a very dangerous spot for the Rhinos.
Take it short. Ryan Williams there to cover. Still in possession. Rochester get inside the penalty area. Lance Roseboom gets a foot in. But Rochester again back in possession here. Eddie Edward trying to deal with Bradley Camden. 1-1 back as Fury FC try to break out that right side, and now Ryan Williams remains down in the penalty areas. There's a foul on the far side, and Williams back to his feet, albeit gingerly, as Carl Howarth was fouled on the previous play trying to break Fury FC outside of their own half. It was Bradley Camden hog-tied him down.
It was kind of an awkward collision in the box that's left Williams down, and it looks like it might be a bit of a lower body issue here, as out comes the training staff for the Fury. But again, kind of nervy moments in their own 18, and we saw it against TFC2 last week as well, Graham, where Ottawa just wasn't able to clear their lines with the kind of regularity that you'd like to see, as TFC2 played a couple of balls through the 6-yard box that went untouched, and even off that played short free kick for the Rhinos, Fury had a lot of trouble dealing with that threat off the wing and into the heart of the box. And unfortunately for Fury, looks like Williams is down, and this would really hurt Paul Dalgleish and his staff right now if they have to burn a second substitution inside 35 minutes, and that looks to be the case as Williams is down, and we've got a couple of Fury players warming up. Unsure if he'll be able to continue here.
Well, as they tend to Ryan Williams, just got a note that we didn't mention this as of yet, but today is part of Pure Later Tackle Hunger Weekend here at TD Place. The Ottawa Redblacks participated in the initiative last week, raising over 43,000 pounds of food. Today, Ottawa Fury FC and their supporters raised 8,120 pounds of food. So between the two teams, over 50,000 pounds raised. And in the 4 years that the two clubs have participated in this initiative, over 180,000 pounds of food raised for the Ottawa Food Banks. So congratulations to the two teams, and thanks to all the fans for their generosity here this afternoon.
And looks like Ryan Williams' day is going to be over as Fury ready to make a second substitution here inside the first 40 minutes of this match. And boy, that puts them at a tactical disadvantage going into the second half, Graham, as Paul Dalgleish will be forced to burn 2 subs due to injury here in the first 45.
Fury FC win the ball back in the midfield there, but now Rochester do the same. Look to break through the middle. Garzi. Now to Farrell. Forbes. Dover. Mishit that one as he tried to, I think, wanted to send it through the middle to Jochen Groff.
Cito Siane readying to come into this match. Team leading scorer with 4 goals to his name. He's been in and out of the 11 for Fury, but certainly offers the touch and the creativity up front that thus far they've kind of been lacking in this game. So, you know, Williams down, but potentially an opportunity for Cito to come in and jumpstart something here.
Ryan Felix overhit that one as he attempted to clear, but also hit Jochen Groff, but was in an offside position. Callum Irving rolls it out to John Barden. Del Campo. Bruna sends this one over the top, looking for Steven DeSantos, trying to get in behind the defenders. Does well to get beyond Felix, but Farrell there to support him and clear it from harm's way. Bruna brings down that clearance to Lance Roseboom. Immediately under pressure, forced to go back to John Barden. Del Campo back inside his own half. Bruna, Venter. Just trying to open up a seam through that middle. Del Campo to Roseboom. Turns off one man, still going. Good ball to the left side now for Kyle Venter. Venter slows things up, goes to Roseboom. Works his way through the middle. Whips it across the far side to Eddie Edward in space. First touch, brings it forward. Well played there by Camden to keep it in play. Get it up the line, but Ottawa will win a throw as it did go into touch.
And again, a nice job by Camden out on that left flank, Graham. He's really impressed me along with Dover on the back 4 for Rochester just controlling, taking care of their defensive responsibilities first and foremost, but also willing to venture forward and willing to jumpstart the attack. And you can see how quickly the Rhinos transition from defense to offense, and it's created problems not just for the Fury in this match, but for a lot of their opponents over the last month or so.
Substitution has just taken place, so Cito now into the game for Ryan Williams. Howarth in for Eddie Edward. He goes down, no foul called, and now an opportunity for Rochester to counter here. Eddie Edward comes across. He'll be called for a foul. Now he and Mike Garzi are going to get into it. John Barden steps in.
Isn't this fun?
And yellow cards going out. Garzi's going to get one. See if that's the only one that goes here.
Yeah, Garzi was not happy with the, well, I thought it was, I believe it was a clean tackle. There was no foul called on Eddie Edward, but he went in very hard on Garzi. I think it was a fair tackle, but he went in very hard and low on Garzi, and Garzi got up and immediately gave him a shove. Edward was angry about not getting the foul call previously on that sequence, and then Garzi got up and just gave him a shove, as you see it there. And coming in to clean things up was Jonathan Barden, but, well, you kind of like to see that emotion in this game. It's been a pretty quiet first 40 minutes in terms of just that feistiness and maybe a bit of fight from Fury. Good to see here towards the end of the first half.
Fans, stay up to date on the latest USL news and information from around the league. Tune into USL Coast to Coast with Mike Watts Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XMFC Channel 85. Also, don't forget Sirius XMFC will air the USL Game of the Week. Please check uslsoccer.com for dates and times. Groff, top of the 18, plays it out for Forbes. Forbes takes a touch, looks to shoot. Gets that one on the outside of the boot, misses the target well wide. As we hit the 40th minute here at TD Place, Rochester Rhinos continuing to lead by a 1-0 score on that goal in the 15th minute by Jochen Groff.
And we saw it again there, Groff holding up play as he likes to do, edge of the 18, squared it for Kenardo Forbes. His effort went high and wide, but again, the big man doing his job here for the Rhinos thus far on this beautiful Saturday afternoon in the nation's capital.
Eddie Edward battling in there. Ramon Martin Del Campo heads that one forward. Foul called against Carl Howarth on that last challenge. Mondays, Ottawa's premier soccer show looks at the world of soccer from the local club teams to Ottawa Fury FC, the MLS, the beautiful game across Europe and around the globe. Corner kicks on TSN 1200. Rochester again threatening here. Ball played into the penalty area, dealt with by Kyle Venter. Falls to Lance Roseboom. Nifty first touch there. Get away from Garzi. Now he sends it long looking for DeSantos. DeSantos has to battle with Felix. Back to support is Jordan Dover, but Gerardo Bruna now outlets to Carl Howarth as he collects the loose ball. Howarth, first touch, positive one, delivers this one through. That ball was out of play before he was able to get his foot around it.
And Graham, that was a beautiful ball through from Gerardo Bruno on the first hit. Right out wide to Carl Howarth, perfectly weighted for the Fury winger to run onto it. And again, that's the creativity, that's the touch that Gerardo Bruno brings. He has the best pedigree on this Fury squad, and you see it in flashes like that.
Well, and you can see the benefit, too, of playing those balls into Steven DeSantos as he had to draw 3 Rhinos defenders to try and win the ball back, and the clearance was intercepted by Bruna. Venter gets underneath this one. DeSantos will go up for the header. Farrell wins that one, headed back forward by Bruna. DeSantos battling with Farrell. DeSantos goes down, ball cleared forward, and again, given chase there by Groff, and coming off his line was Callum Irving to head that one away. Caught out of the goal here. Falls to Groff. Groff will try one, and a good save by Callum Irving, and a smart shot by Jochen Groff right at the feet of Callum Irving, who was trying to backtrack to get into his own goal. But now Rochester will continue to threaten with a corner.
And that's the second time in this first half that we've seen Callum Irving kind of caught out. He luckily recovers and makes a great left toe save on Graff. But again, Jochen Graff, very alert in his passing, in his vision, and just having the heads-up ability to realize that Irving was out of his net and one-time that. Really impressed with the Rhinos' big man in this opening half.
It'll be Forbes to take the corner. Delivers this one in right to the middle of the goal and uncontested, but certainly Callum Irving had to be sharp. Rolls it out now to Eddie Edward, 43rd minute. 1-0 for Rochester, continues to lead. Howarth plays it back into the midfield, Gerardo Bruna. Over the top, looking for Dos Santos. Good work by Cito. Down that left side, and he gets a bump there from Forbes, but Ottawa will maintain possession on the corner.
This Rochester back four and the defensive midfielders are just so tight. It's really difficult for the Fury to create anything.
Howard throws this one in. Dos Santos looking for the header. Del Campo in there, tries the acrobatic bicycle kick, and immediately Wall Fall goes down.
I think he might have taken that bicycle kick attempt straight to the face, and he's in some discomfort here.
Well, I'll say this much. The boot certainly came up. I don't know if there was much contact there from Ramon Martin Del Campo's ambitious effort.
Oh, there's definitely some contact there. As it looked like it glanced him off the forehead on the replay, but Wall Fall back up and at him, and that would be a big loss for the Rhinos had he stayed down there. He's been everywhere in this first half.
Gomez gets things back in play. Another ball played forward. Eddie Edward back to deal with it again. Jochen Graf giving them difficulty. The outlet to John Barden down that right side. Barden looking into the middle. That pass in behind Carl Howarth. Rochester looked to counter here. Good header there by Del Campo, but the offside flag was up as Graf came back from an offside position as we hit the full 45 minutes here of the opening half, and we will have 3 minutes of additional time. Of course, we had a couple of injuries there to Shane McElhaney and Ryan Williams, both having to go out of this match. Cito bodied off the ball there by Jordan Dover, sets up a free kick here from decent range, and it'll be Carl Howarth that will settle behind this one for Ottawa Fury FC in first half stoppage time.
And you see Cito doing an excellent job just feeling the body, creating the contact, and drawing that foul. That's kind of that veteran, just a veteran move from Cito on that left flank. He realized he was probably going to lose possession on the 50-50, and he just creates that nudge, hits the deck, professional foul drawn.
Howarth with the delivery, looking to the back post. And Venter was in space, but a good read by Tomas Gomez to come well off his line and collect the delivery from Carl Howarth. Venter wins that header, rather make that Del Campo. Bruna's touch a bit heavy, tries to chase it down. Good first touch by Dover, tries to slice his way through the middle. Kyle Venter now to Lance Roseboom. Roseboom forward to Howarth. Turns, still going. Carl Howarth has to give way to Cito. Cito now with a touch. Gets it over. There's a low shot from Dos Santos, and diving to his left for Gomez to easily collect that one. As Ottawa attacked with some pace there, and Dos Santos just couldn't get any power on the shot.
No, and that's the third or fourth time in this first half, Graham, where we've seen Fury decent in the build-up and just fanning on that final opportunity, right? Fanning on the final shot. Dos Santos has done it twice, and they just have to be more clinical with the chances and even the half chances that they're getting.
James with the delivery, falls to Forbes. And a foul called. The ball came into both Venter and Forbes. I don't know if it was a handball or if there was just a foul on the play. Regardless, dangerous opportunity thwarted. Good ball there from Ryan James.
That's the second really nice pass he's delivered. The first one was on Jochen Graf's opening goal, and really solid play from the kind of the left wing, left midfielder from the Rhinos so far.
Dos Santos goes up for the header, but no one able to run onto it. Falls at the feet of Gomez, waits for some pressure. Came from Howarth and could very well be setting up the last play of this opening half. Possession still favoring Fury FC slightly at 51% through the opening 45 minutes. But through 45 minutes at TD Place, Jochen Graf's goal in the 15th minute holds up to be the difference. Carlos, a couple factors came in there as we await to hear from Paul Dalglish, but a couple of subs that he had to burn early due to injuries to Shane McElhaney and Ryan Williams. Certainly not something that he expected or certainly wanted to do. As we'll just wait, we'll head down now and join Sanisha Shindik in conversation with Fury FC head coach Paul Dalglish.
With Fury FC head coach Paul Dalglish, Paul, down 1-0 after 45 minutes. Your assessment of this first half?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's been 2 shots against us, and you know, the inability to deal with the long ball, we've got to deal with that. We can't let balls bounce. We've let balls bounce. Just long, straight balls have bounced and caused us problems, and they're not dangerous balls. We've got to deal with them. And then we've got to, when we get into the final third, I think once we've got our attacking players turned facing forward and we've had little combinations around the top of their goal, we've looked a lot more dangerous. But we've got to keep finding our players getting turned and get more opportunities on goal, because ourselves, we maybe only had 2 or 3 chances as well. So it's hot out there. We've already had to use 2 substitutions, so we're going to have to find solutions.
You just said it's very hot out there. You used 2 substitutions. You're down 1-0. What's going to be the plan in the second half for you guys? Yeah,
we've got to be efficient with the ball, and we've got to deal with the long balls. They've changed into a back 5 in the second half, so it's going to be very difficult to break them down. But we've got to keep fighting. We've got to keep trying, and we've got to score goals.
Thanks, coach. Good luck in second half.
Highlighting what some of the challenges are going to be in that second half, and I think one of the points that he touched on was not letting those balls bounce, because there's been a few times where Jochen Graf has been able to get on the end of them, create some opportunities, just because they're not winning that first ball, and that was one of the keys we talked about in that first half, was winning those battles.
Winning those battles, and it's something that caused a lot of problems, Graham. Rochester playing those kind of balls right onto the edge of the 18, played up either for Graf to run onto or for Graf to hold up and create opportunities with wingers like Ryan James and even Kennardo Forbes. He's been everywhere. Wallfall's been everywhere. The fact is, Fury need to be tighter defensively, but the key here, they have to find ways to create offense. For my money, 0 legitimate scoring chances in that first half.
Coming up next, it's our player profile and then our halftime show. Ottawa Fury FC trail the Rochester Rhinos 1-0 through 45 minutes at TD Place. This is Ottawa Fury FC Soccer.
I think I was 8 years old, and I was playing against a team called New Brighton Saints for my team, Victoria Colts. I remember it being windy up on a hill. I remember getting the ball and skipping past a couple of players and putting the ball in the net. What I didn't realise at the time was I just took on my own teammates and scored in my own goal. So that's the first memory I have, and it took me about 6 months until I started to get the gist of the game. From about age 8 or 9, I had trials with many different teams, the likes of Liverpool, Everton, Blackburn, Tranmere, Man City, all the teams that were local to me. I eventually signed with Tranmere when I was 10. They ended up releasing me at 13 because I was tiny. I physically looked like an 8-year-old, and I remember them saying, technically you're the best player we've got in the youth system, but we don't think you'll ever be big enough or athletic enough to play pro soccer. That was a difficult pill to swallow, because it wasn't as if they were telling me, oh, you need to work on your left foot or your passing. It was something that I couldn't physically control. And I ended up signing with Chester City. And it was funny, I signed with them, and about 18 months later I started to grow and develop, and I actually ended up training with their first team, like 18 months after being told I wasn't physical enough to play with the youth 13s at Tranmere. I was training with the men's team at Chester at 15. It was always important to me to have someone to voice my fears to and my concerns, and that was my mum. I'd seen my mum struggle when I was a kid. She worked so hard to provide everything she could for me, and she'd always been my inspiration. And them years between 12 and 15, they were tough. She was there for me, and although it was a difficult time, hand on heart, I probably wouldn't change it, because them experiences have made me who I am today. So I'll forever be be grateful to for helping me through them times.
Welcome to our halftime show. Graham Ivory alongside me, Tyler McDonald, and Carlos Verde will be the third man on the panel for this halftime show. It's the mid-season time. Midterms are around the corner for Ottawa Fury FC, and it's time for our mid-season grades. Now, for context, we'll take a look quick at the USL Eastern Conference standings, where Ottawa Fury FC currently sit 9th coming into this game. And just for context, they're sitting 10th with 20 points, Ottawa Fury, and that's something that's they're going to be trying to work and improve on it in general. But we'll get to the grades. What we're going to highlight is offense, defense, and an overall grade for each and every one of us. I'll start with myself, make it nice and simple here. For offense, for Ottawa Fury FC, I have them at a B-. Lots of chances created, but unfortunately for Fury, those chances aren't getting finished, in my opinion, and I think that's something that needs to be working forward in the second half of the season. Graham?
C for offense, and they've certainly created chances, but offense is about scoring goals, and that is something that they haven't been able to do on a consistent basis. And if you take away a couple of those games against the Richmond Kickers, that high-scoring, exciting game here that resulted in the 5-3 win, the 4-3 win over New York Red Bull, just those two games alone, 9 of their 20 goals were scored in those two games. So a little bit more consistency. The grade is based on consistency, not on production, because they're certainly created the chances. There's no question on that. But it's all about finishing, and they need to finish. If they want to come back here this afternoon, as also if they want to climb up those standings.
Carlos, your thoughts?
Well, I think Graham pretty much covered everything. But the fact is, this is a Fury team that I think has the horses to do better than they have to this point, gentlemen. And you know, you could rank it anywhere from a C- to a C+, anywhere in that range. It's really whatever Fury team decides to show up on the day, but we've seen it over the last 3 games. This is an Ottawa team that has really struggled to create meaningful opportunities. It took them 80-odd minutes to create, quality, not offside chances against TFC2. They fell 2-1 against Louisville and struggled to create offense down there as well. And so far in the first half, they've struggled to break down Rochester. They have great pieces, but they have to be able to find a way to regularly service Steven Dos Santos and be more clinical inside the 18.
All right, let's move on, gentlemen, to defense now. And for me, I gave defense a C to C+ ranking, and that has a lot to do with Callum Irving in it. I think if you take Callum Irving out of this equation, Callum Irving himself will get an A-, and then your defense may be lacking to a C-. I think there's a lot of trouble when it comes to breaking out of the defensive zone for Fury. Lots of turnovers around the midfield area, and that's been a problem. We've seen that again in Rochester as well in this game, where we're seeing balls getting driven past and defenders getting beaten. I think that's something that needs to be tightened up a little bit in the second half of the season. Graham?
I'll agree with you, or disagree with you a little bit on that one, and I rank them at a B just because that's the one area of their game where I've seen a lot of consistency. And if I was looking at what you need to focus on in training, I would say defense would be the least of your worried. I've really liked the game of Callum Irving this season. This is his 21st start, and again, you can't really fault him on that opening goal. Defensively, Shane McElhaney is as calm as they come in terms of a center back. Ramon Martin Del Campo, I think, has proven to be one of the best young center backs in the USL. There has been a bit of change depending on the formation, whether it's Andre Campbell, Obasi, Venter kind of back there, but there's certainly been a good amount of continuity defensively for Ottawa. Lance Roseboom, you always see him tucking back into a defensive role when necessary. I like their defensive game. If they can transition going forward, and maybe that's the breakdown. Maybe it's the transition from defense to offense, and if that gets fixed, well, that might solve all the problems.
Carlos, your thoughts on the defense?
Well, I think, Graham did speak about consistency, and yes, defense has been the positive for this Fury side thus far, but I'm still going to keep them in the C+ range because, let's face it, they concede goals at bad times and against sides that they probably should be registering clean sheets against. You look at TFC2, they give up an unlucky goal in transition against Luca Uccello, but you can be consistent, but if you have those little mental lapses and are still dropping points against teams well below you in the standings, something has to shape up, and we saw it again here against Rochester. One breakdown, Groff allowed to sneak in, and just like that, they trail 1-0. They're mid-table when it comes to offense and defense, and I think room for improvement in both areas in the second half of the season.
I think just one more point on that, and I think when it comes to the defenses, you talk about how they concede goals, all right? 21 goals conceded now, but if you look at the goals that they are conceded, it's typically through their own fault. It's because of an error, it's because of a turnover, and So you say that's what we need to work on. The positive of that is that teams aren't breaking you down. The formation that you play defensively, whether they're playing 3 across the back, playing with the flat back 4, they're not being broken down. It's goals where they're, turnovers in the midfield, a missed mark on a set piece, short of that. And those are things that I think you can more easily rectify than if it's a systematic error, which I don't think it is. So if there's certainly one positive from the defensive side, is that they're not conceding, they're not being broken down. It's just they need to clean up some of those errors.
Very quickly, gentlemen, we're going to do our overall and what needs to be improved here in the second half. For me, overall, I give Ottawa Fury FC a C+. I think they have a lot more to improve. This is a team that could be a team that would get home field advantage in the playoffs. I think the biggest thing you have to work on is passing accuracy and getting your passing down. They're worst in the league by a long shot.
Yeah, I agree with you there, and I think it's a fair grade, being in that kind of the C+ range. That's probably where they should be, and again, shouldn't be looked as a point of criticism, more as a positive, as there's lots of things that a simple tweak here and a bit of boost in confidence, and I think the ship gets righted, no question.
Carlos?
Yeah, same thing for me, C+ range, again, depending on the day, depending on the afternoon. Right now, trailing Rochester, I'd probably give them a C, and that's what I will do, but this is a team that has a lot of positives going for it. They've got talent all over the pitch. They've got a great goalkeeper. They've got a top man up top, a big man up top, and Steven Dos Santos, who can do a lot of everything. Carl Howarth, Ryan Williams, dynamic offensive players. If they tighten up on the mistakes, like you guys mentioned, I think the sky's the limit in the second half. Certainly a playoff team in my books in the USL East, despite being out of the picture right now.
Well, let's see if they can improve on their 10th overall position. They need to improve in this game as well. 1-0 Ottawa Fury FC trail Rochester Rhinos. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, Carlos and Graham will have the call the second half. This is Ottawa Fury FC Soccer.
Drogba with a chance at redemption, as well as finding a late equalizer from about 22 yards out.
I wonder how much is left in those legs. He looks tired. Hands on hips, hands on knees.
All eyes on Charlie Lyon. Drogba curls it up and in! Oh my goodness! At the death again in the 90-minute +4. Drogba with a beautiful free kick and the equalizer.
Ryan James plays that over the head of Campbell for Uccello. Uccello!
Done him.
Scores! Luca Uccello! A magnificent goal! Over the head of Irving, and Toronto has the lead. Kenny Walker forward to GB, has it at his chest. GB with an early strike and a goal for number 9.
What a great ball over the top, by the way. It's a fantastic ball and a fantastic finish by GB.
And it will be Kevon Frater. Mastakash here just going to move out, give him an extra option.
Frater been in and a goal! Kevon Frater, we are tied at 2.
Well, there's your goal of the week candidate, ladies and gentlemen. Kevon Frater, stunning strike there. Absolutely nothing that Spencer Ritchie could do. He got a hand on it, but that ball was past him and into the top corner. By the time he did get that hand, stunning strike there from Kevon Frater. The second half substitute blasted that free kick home. 2-2 at Widener Field. Game on.
Farfan. Slips it in for Arboleda. Arboleda shoots and scores. 1-goal game. Farfan's second assist. Arboleda with the finish.
Great goal. Great goal. You know, Farfan, God bless him, he's playing great.
Welcome back to TD Place. Ottawa Fury FC trailing the Rochester Rhinos by a 1-0 score through 45 minutes. Jochen Graf with the opening goal in the 15th minute, and that stands to be the difference right now. And Ottawa Fury FC, well, they certainly have a lot against them to start this second half, knowing that we've got quite a hot day out there and 29 degrees, but they've also had to burn some subs as we have a look at our first half stats brought to you by Rico. And certainly everything looks pretty close so far, and I think it's kind of a fair measure of how the game has gone, and perhaps what this game could come down to is which side either makes the fewer mistakes or which side can capitalize more on the mistakes.
Well, and I'd say that Rochester has probably done more with less in that first half, Graham. I think we saw just a handful of long balls over the top. Jochen Graf running onto that ball from Ryan James for the opening marker of this one. But Rochester, I don't think were necessarily the better team in that first half. They were just a little bit more efficient with the chances they had in challenging Callum Irving into saves.
Challenges that Paul Dalglish is going to have to face in this second half. Now, the benefit is he's got a guy like Cito on earlier in the game than he probably wanted to, but had that opportunity with the two subs having to come on. He now gets kind of a break in that locker room to have a conversation with them as this is how we want to attack this second half.
Absolutely, and we saw Cito starting in kind of a left wing kind of role. We saw him draw a foul just before the stroke at halftime, Graham, and for my money, he can be one of the Fury's most creative offensive weapons when he's on the pitch. I think it's good that they got him involved in this game in the first half. He's warm, he's into the match. You know, he's warm, but at the same time, hot day, 29 Celsius, 85 Fahrenheit, Graham. They only have one sub left. That could be a real detriment as they try and break down the very tactically sound Rochester Rhinos.
When we heard Paul Dalglish talk in conversation with Sinisha Shindik at halftime, just about how Rochester has almost dropped into a back five in terms of how they're defending, and well, that's really what it's all about when you're trying to win results away from home.
And it's no secret when you look at this Fury side, even TFC2 last week, in this league, when you score first, you're more often than not, 70-80% of the time, going to win the match. For Fury, they've yet to win a game that they've trailed this year, so it's going to be an uphill battle, but they have to find a way to just generate offense because they didn't really create any legitimate chances other than that 43rd minute free kick in the first half.
Rochester in possession down the right-hand side. Forbes tries to play it through, looking for Ryan James. And a judge to have gone off Gerardo Bruna.
Not thrilled with the call from the far side linesman either.
And that will result in a corner for Rochester, their second of the match.
And guess who's pacing into the 6-yard box here? It's Wall Fall. He is a massive target off these set pieces. They have a number of athletically gifted players, and this is a big spot for the Fury. They need to defend this.
Forbes delivers this one in, going up for the header. Fall gets a touch on it, and it'll squeak out the back of the penalty area. And a hard challenge there on Kyle Venter. And a foul is called.
We saw the intensity of this match pick up towards the end of the first half, Graham, and again we see it there as Venter colliding very heavily with Sofiane Tergou, the right winger out of France for this Rhinos team. But, you know, I like to see that. I like to see a little more feistiness for both sides here. It seems like too often we see a lot of these, at any level, bore 0-0, 1-0 results. If we can get a little bit of emotion into it, maybe get the crowd into it if you're the Fury, could bode well, and it'll just make for a more entertaining game.
Muckingilwa gets a boot to that one, bit heavy, ends up in the penalty area. Bobbled momentarily there by Tomas Gomez. And we saw ever since and by they I mean Rochester scored that goal, they really wanted to grind the pace of this game down, and that's going to be to Ottawa Fury FC to try and turn the pace of the game up as they look to find the equalizer, and there's a battle on the far side. Kyle Venter battles with Jochen Graf, the Rochester goal scorer. That one out for a goal kick.
Graf.
49th minute here at TD Place. Rochester continuing to lead 1-0 on that first half goal.
Yeah, Graf, the goal scorer, really interesting career path. He joins Rochester from Osterham in the Swedish 3rd Division, played at Karlstad United as well in Sweden, and just another one of these well-traveled players in leagues like the USL and NASL. You know, veteran at the age of 27. He's got, well, he has his 4th goal of the season, obviously, this afternoon, but he had 3 goals coming into this, and just kind of a workhorse. High work rate for a big man up front, and you can really see why Bob Lilly and his staff in Rochester have gone to him as kind of the standalone target man striker.
Rochester trying to break through the midfield here. Wall fall, slots it out wide. Good run there by Ramon Martin Del Campo. First there for Ottawa. His clearance is blocked. That's Turgu. Turgu delivers it into the penalty area off the boot of Aaron Muckingilwa, and that will award Rochester their third corner of the match as Del Campo's clearance caught Turgu and created an offensive opportunity there for the Rhinos again.
And you see this lovely touch with the flick from Groff to deflect it. And again, just really impressed with his touch as well. A top-notch striker just in terms of work rate and a little creative flick. You love to see that from the Rhino striker.
Conrado Forbes, the Rochester captain, with the delivery. Sends it in near post. That one cleared away by Dos Santos, and now Bruna does the rest of the work, looking to outlet to Howarth. Cito, he gets a touch. That one headed away, otherwise Carl Howarth would have been home free. Well played by Bradley Camden. Dos Santos now to John Barden. Eddie Edward inside his own half. Through the middle to Del Campo. Under pressure from Graff, goes over to Venter on the left side. Venter through the middle, that one missing everyone. And that one bounces up. It's an unfortunate bounce for Joseph Farrell. Handball. And that will give Ottawa a free kick here. Quickly outlet to Cito. Cito tries to play it in for Dos Santos, was not on the same wavelength, and that one rolls in to Tomas Gomez.
And looks like we have another substitution ready to come in for the Fury, and I believe that's Tucker Hume down there. I could be mistaken, but I'd assume it would likely be a straight swap with Steven Dos Santos at this point.
You could see a swap. You might even see Muckingilwa come out of the game and Howarth pushed out to the left side and go with the two big bodies up top and Dos Santos and Hume. As certainly what they need to do to try and break down that back line. Soccer fans, Nike is an official sponsor of the USL. For more information, visit NikeSoccer.com. Bruna wins it, plays it all the way back to Callum Irving at the top of his 18-yard box. Outlets to Kyle Venter. Forced back to Irving. Has to send this one long over the head of Cito. It'll be Ryan James that heads that one into touch, and we will see that substitute come now for Ottawa. Tucker Hume will come into the game for Aaron Muckingilwa.
Not a terrible performance from Muckingilwa on that left flank. He was exposed a little early in the first half, but as he settled into the match, he proved up to the task on that left side, and looks like we're going to have some shifting around here on the Fury back line, but more importantly, two big men up front now with Steven Dos Santos and Tucker Hume. That's going to afford them just that extra advantage on balls in the air.
Gomez with the goal kick. He was a 2015 MLS draft pick of the Columbus Crew. Spent time that same season with San Jose. Eddie Edward, good challenge there. Edward back up on his feet trying to win it, but go off him for a Rochester throw. Down, skies it into the midfield. Hume tried to find it in the sun. Farrell wins the header, but it goes back inside his own half. Bradley Camden plays it forward. Jochen Graff goes up for the header. That one won by Del Campo. Offside flag was up on Graff. Callum Irving will come well out of his goal to take the free kick. Less than 10 yards inside his own half.
No messing about from the Rhinos here. They've got 10 men at the edge of their own box.
Going up for the header. Cleared away. Barden gets a touch. Ottawa will maintain possession now. Del Campo plays this one into the box, finding Hume. His header finds the Santos, able to get a touch. Brings it down, looking for an option. Last outlet back to Eddie Edward. First touch delivers this one in. Only finds Farrell, and he clears that one away. James now looking for Forbes, brought down by John Barden. Now Kyle Venter tries to bring it to the near side, completely mishits that one in behind Eddie Edward, allowing Rochester to regroup.
Looks like a 5-4-1 now for the Rhinos in this second half, Graham. They've switched to 5 at the back, and well, I mean, that essentially affords them 9 men behind the ball in the defensive half. Graf is going to be the lone man up top, maybe trying to poach one on the counter, but the Rhinos certainly playing for the 1-0 result, and you can't blame them away from home leading at the half.
Well, a crucial game, and as we mentioned, this is the start of the second half of the season. And those points become all the more valuable. You could call this one a 6-point game here this afternoon. Del Campo back for Irving. Hume goes up for the header. Falls to Santos, just flicks that one forward. And calmly headed back to Tomas Gomez by Wall Fall.
And again, moving in from that 4-1-4-1 to a 5-4-1, what you have is Wall Fall, who was essentially roving, creating offense and backtracking in the first half. He's now in the heart of that defense, so a big, agile center back nestled in between Joe Farrell and Ryan Felix in the heart of that Rhinos defense.
James lets that one to the wide side. And to find a path through was Forbes. Now they make that Dover on the far side. Well defended there as Jarder Bruna just steps in, and Dover unable to get beyond him. Hume wins that header, but falls right to the feet of Fall and able to clear that one away. Ottawa again back in possession. Eddie Edward. Headed down, and now Rochester back in possession inside their own half as Ottawa looks to win it back. Stepping up was Bruna. Cleared away, but Eddie Edward back in possession for Ottawa. Oh, takes a hard knock on the knee there. I think that was Sofian Turgu who came across as Eddie Edward gets it between his legs and then gets one right at the knees.
Two players with pretty interesting backgrounds there, as you have Eddie Edward, Ottawa local guy, comes back to play for his hometown club after a couple of years with FC Edmonton in the NASL. We saw him here against the Fury 3-4 years ago, Graham, in the Canadian Championship as well as NASL play. A lot of games played, big rivalry there between the Eddies and Fury FC. And on the flip side, you've got Sofiane Tergu, a player that went from the French 3rd division to the Rochester Rhinos. An interesting career path there.
John Barden looking to win back the ball here in a battle with Canardo Forbes. Roberto Bruno will shepherd that one into touch for an Ottawa throw. 58th minute here at TD Place. Rochester leading by a 1-0 score, and that goal in the 15th minute by Jochen Graf. One headed away. Graf trying to hold off Venter. Able to outlet for Turgu. Sofian Turgu through the middle. Offside flag stays down. Ryan James outlets it to Canardo Forbes here on the counter. Forbes top of the 18, low shot. That one blocked. As Kyle Venter able to get into that lane. James again looking for, this time it was Jordan Dover who had made the run forward. Hard challenge there on Steven DeSantos. That'll be a foul called as He's always had 2 green shirts within 2-3 yards of him at all times this afternoon.
Well, certainly aware of the threat that Steven Dos Santos poses, or the Rochester Rhinos, his former side. But on that last play, we saw Groff holding up play just inside his own half, and the Rhinos able to counter with numbers. Fury have to be careful not to get caught on the counter here. Still plenty of soccer left, half an hour to go.
Barden wins that header. Back in possession again. Barden delivers this one into the penalty area. Going to the back post. Gomez is up. And able to collect that one just outside his 6-yard box, with both Cito and Steven Dos Santos looking for a loose ball.
One thing to note as well, Graham, Fury have used all 3 of their substitutions. Rochester with all 3 remaining here. Still half an hour left to play, plus extra time in this, plus injury time, pardon me, in this very, very hot Saturday afternoon. So advantage Rhinos for sure when it comes to tactical adjustments and what they can do with 3 subs remaining for Bob Lilley's side.
Eddie Edward plays that one in, looking for Tucker Hume. And will go out in favor of Rochester. Turgu loses that challenge to Roseboom. Roseboom gets into it with his man. Yet I think he might have just been trying to help him up. As quite a collision there between himself and Bradley Camden.
2 big bodies as well, both of them at least 6 feet tall.
Howarth into the penalty area. Header headed away. Campo tries to come forward, goes over top of Jochen Groff to win the header and gets called for the foul.
You can certainly see, though, Graham, the Rhinos not in any hurry to take their set pieces, and certainly not much in the way going forward, because they have the lead, and this is the book on them, right? They get a lead, or it's 0-0 away from home, and they'll sit on it. And credit to them, it's working very well for them. They're about to go 6 points clear if they can hang on through the final half hour here in Ottawa in the playoff picture. So, you know, it might not be the most attractive game plan, but they're getting results.
Well, short of their 5-0 loss to Charleston back on the 15th of April and a 4-0 win over Charlotte on the 29th of April, 13 of their 15 games have been decided by a goal or less. So Rochester certainly knows how to perform in these tight contests.
Another incredible thing too, Graham, this year about the USL is just how much parity there is. You look at the league from, 4th through 11th. I think there might be 8 points separating teams. If you look at the standings, Louisville City's on 29 and 2nd, and Fury are only 9 back of them. And it's really amazing the amount of draws and 1-goal matches that have been played in the USL this year. Everything's still up for grabs going into the second half.
For the header was Cito, couldn't win it there, falls to Bruna. And a foul called. And he shares his protest with official Chris Grabus. And it's one area where Ottawa have to be strong in this second half. They, despite the need to come back in this game and get at least a goal to earn a point, to maintain their composure and be patient, because Rochester is certainly going to try and frustrate them with their tactical plan for the second half. Eddie Edward with the throw now. Looking up the line for Tucker Hume. That's won by Rochester. Outlet to Groff. Now James to Forbes. Plays it forward for Groff. Gets in behind. A good first save by Callum Irving. Kyle Venture will let that one roll out for a goal kick. And Callum Irving, sharp to come charging off his line. gets a hand to it this time, and well, perhaps fortunately, Jochen Graf falling on the effort and unable to get a second chance as the rebound deflected off Graf and out for a goal kick.
Second time that Ramon Martin del Campo has been just beaten to a ball up the middle by Jochen Graf, and luckily for him and the Fury, it's still 1-0 Rochester. But Graf, again, just showing what he's capable of, kind of coming out of nowhere, and half chances really turning into full chances for them.
Well, clash of heads there between Steven Dos Santos and Jochen Graf, and Chris Grabus immediately signals for the athletic therapists of both teams, and Dos Santos first up to his feet.
Graf looks to be in some trouble here. Kind of a glancing blow off his forehead. Dos Santos went down first, but Graf has stayed down, and that would be a huge loss for the Rhinos just in terms of what he brings up front.
Yeah, it was more the back of the head of Steven Dos Santos that caught the kind of the front of Jochen Graf. Might have been around that right eye. And he goes off holding the side of his face, and they'll check him out, and be hard pressed to see him come out of this match, I would imagine.
Absolute warrior.
His body language suggests anything at the moment.
Yeah, he waved away the coaching staff who wanted to check in on him. He's getting checked out by the trainer. Maybe a little gauze over the eye if he's cut, and he should be back on the pitch and ready to go.
Well, it looks like he was certainly split open somewhere around that right eye.
Now, Graham, the story here in this heat, in this second half, is how Fury is going to hold up, because the 11 that are on the pitch for Paul Dalglish's side, that's the 11 that they're going to finish this match with, barring injury, of course. And you know, you wonder where that spark is going to come from, if it's going to be Howarth on the wing, if it's going to be one of Hume or Dos Santos up the middle. But right now it hasn't been there for them, and you wonder, without the option of a tactical sub off the bench, where the offense is going to come from in the next 25 minutes for Fury.
Roseboom. Right side now, Eddie Edward. Edward delivers this one in the box, looking for Tucker Hume. Headed away by Farrell. Coming in for a challenge was Barden. Rhinos able to clear. Rochester still playing with 10 men right now as Jochen Graf gets taped up on the sidelines.
And now it's literally a 5-4. There is no attacker for Rochester. It's defense first at this point.
Hume turns, gets it over to Lance Roseboom. Roseboom now to Eddie Edward. Just not a channel opening up right now for Ottawa. Now to Gerardo Bruna in the middle. Bruna to Howard, back to Roseboom. Bruna gives way to Venter. Jochen Graf is all set, ready to come back into this game, and he'll have to await the signal from the official. Bruna, wide for Barden. He gets the signal to come back into the match as Graf is back in. We're back to 11v11. Cito touches this one through, that one out of the reach of Tucker Hume. And Tomas Gomez out to challenge.
That was quite funny while Graf was out, to see Rochester just going 5-4-0. Nobody outside of their defensive third, and credit to them. That's what they're going to have to do to hang on for the 1-0 win away from home. Fury are going to come with everything they've got in the next 20 minutes, and let's see how it pans out.
Counter opportunity here. That one sent out to the wide side. Howarth's delivery will take a deflection, and it will bounce out for an Ottawa corner. The USL is one of the most prominent second division professional leagues in the world, featuring some of the game's top talent and rising stars. Stay up to date with the latest of league news and information by visiting USLsoccer.com. There's a flick on by Tucker Hume. And that one parried away. Good opportunity by Fury FC there. And Gomez again showing why his shutout streak remains intact as he parries that one away, destined for the back post. And now Carl Howarth will come over to the near side to take the corner kick. Howard delivers. One headed away by Farrell. Falls to Roseboom. Now Barden. First touch just sends it back into the box. Gomez out to challenge around the penalty area, and he collects that one with both Dos Santos and Hume looking for that ball. Venter called for the foul there on Canardo Forbes. Tried to take that one quickly as Wall falls, saw Jochen Graf unmarked going through the middle. Hume brings it down. Here's Dos Santos getting through. Good defensive challenge there by Ryan Felix to thwart the opportunity by the Cape Verdean international.
Just a split second too long from Dos Santos inside the box, but again, nice job by Felix to step in, and again, Rochester's defense just so strong.
Now Rochester looking to go on the counter. Forbes, now he'll slow things up. Ryan Felix, Forbes. Wallfall returns it to Felix, into the middle for Forbes. Has some space through the middle, good ball. Well read by Del Campo. Now Howarth slows it down, gets it to Del Campo. Out of the reach of Kyle Venter, finds Eddie Edward.
There just seems to be a bit of a lack of creativity here for Fury in this second half, as, you know, aside from that one quality parry from Gomez, he really hasn't been challenged all that much in this match. And, you know, we heard Paul Dalglish speak about it at the half. They have to find that creativity from somewhere, and right now Rochester just proving so difficult to break down with those 9 men behind the ball in their defensive half.
Well, any points earned by Ottawa this afternoon will be well earned, because it's going to be certainly a challenge to come back against a Rochester side with the way that they're playing right now. As you mentioned, Carlos, with 9 men really behind the ball at all times, and just Jochen Graf, the lone man up top. Now it's Steven Dos Santos. He'll give way to Eddie Edward on the right side. Now Lance Roseboom. Back to Edward. Looking for an option. Draws in 3 shirts. Goes to Roseboom. Campo calling for it, and acres of space. Sends this one over the top. That one out of the reach of Tucker Hume. Headed down by Wall-Fall. Canardo Forbes now looking to break away, and foul will be called there on Cito. Or rather make that draw to Bruna.
That's been an ongoing battle throughout this game, Forbes versus Bruna, and we see it on the replay here. To me, that could be a yellow card on Bruna as he holds up Forbes on the run of play, and then Forbes almost looked like he might have lashed out a little bit at Cito, and those are 2 players that both play the game with a lot of fire, Graham, and it's good to see. It's good to see. I would like to see more offensively from Cito. He hasn't had a ton of touches in the second half, but he's the guy that has that creative spark that maybe could just sneak a through ball into one of Hume or Dos Santos to run onto. It hasn't been there for them yet.
So Bruna did go in the books for that challenge. Looks like you tipped off the official there, Carlos. Well done. Well, having a look at the out-of-town scoreboard for the USL. We'll get to that in a moment here as Rochester again threatening. Here's a chance from inside the 18. That one blocked. Now a chance for them to counter. Cito able to turn. Can he get by Camden? And the foul will be spotted back inside the Ottawa half.
Now, Graham, the thing that I'm really intrigued by, 2 things tactically about this Rhinos team. One is they're playing a flat 5 at the back right now, and that is something that you just don't see anymore in soccer. They're really trying to batten down the hatches and just hang on for this 3 points on the road. The other thing is they transition so well from offense to defense. I mean, in that attack, they had 5 green shirts in the Ottawa box. By the time the foul was called, they had 9 men right back in their own half ready to defend, as you see a little bit of a kerfuffle in the Rochester box there with Gomez, but they transition exceptionally well, and they're so comfortable in this game plan. You can see that Bob Lilly has brought in players to this Rhinos team, whether it's at the back with Felix, Dover, guys that are able to run up from those flank spots, or up front with the likes of, Canardo, Forbes and company. These are players that are custom built to fit this system.
Well, they've made their first substitution of the afternoon in the 74th minute as Mike Garzi has come out in his place. Brandon Beresford has come into the game. It's been going back into the penalty area. DeSantos able to get a poke at it, but Gomez quickly getting to the loose ball at the top of the 18-yard box.
Paul Dalglish not thrilled with Steven Dos Santos' striker there, as I think he wanted him to maybe put in a harder challenge for that ball. He pulled up and allowed Gomez and his defender to sort it out.
Dos Santos heads it forward looking for Hume. And Wall Fall with the header back to Gomez. Had to be precise with that one, otherwise Hume would have been home free.
And Graham, it's interesting, we saw Fury struggle defensively with those balls to the edge of the 18 in the first half, and now it's Rochester's turn as they struggle to deal with the big men, Dos Santos and Hume.
And this time Dos Santos fouled by Ryan James as he goes down, and good distance for a set piece here as Carl Howarth settles behind this one.
Dos Santos is mighty good at drawing fouls for a big man, as all 6'4" of them hitting the turf there, and a professionally drawn foul for the Fury big man.
Well, it's both Carl Howarth and Gerardo Bruna standing over this one, but it certainly looks like Howarth would be the favorite one to take. Get back to the other games from around the USL in a moment.
Sun could factor into this free kick here for Gomez in net.
Howarth with the delivery, and he sends that one well high at the goal. Certainly would need to get power on it from that distance, but unable to get it on frame, and it remains 1-0 for Rochester as we tick over into the 77th minute here at TD Place. And looking elsewhere around the USL, only game so far this afternoon, New York Red Bull will host the red-hot Charlotte Independence. That one kicking off at 4. Bethlehem Steel home to the Pittsburgh Riverhounds at 5. At 6, it'll be Whitecaps 2 taking on Reno. And at 7 o'clock, Harrisburg City Islanders home to the Richmond Kickers. 7:30 sees Louisville home to FC Cincinnati. At 8:30, it'll be St. Louis home to the Eastern Conference leading Charleston Battery. And at 11 o'clock tonight, it'll be Didier Drogba's Phoenix Rising FC hosting the Colorado Switchbacks.
How great is that for Arizona soccer fans that, all of a sudden they have one, a pro team in Phoenix Rising, and two, that they get to see a guy like Didier Drogba not only involved on the pitch, but off the pitch as well with that club in Glendale, I believe.
Gerardo Bruna just completely mishits that one. Eddie Edward with a valiant effort to try and get back to it in time. Draws some criticism from the Rochester bench as his effort gets poked into the bench area. Bradley Camden, one of 9 Rochester players that started this afternoon, that started when these two teams met 4 weeks ago in Rochester. The only 2 that did not start that game were Sofian Turgu and Ryan James, but they were the first 2 subs that were brought into that match. Callum Irving sends this one forward. Tucker Hume heads it on. Cito giving chase, and Wall Fall there to sky that one. Good win by Lance Roseboom. Let's get it away from Turgu. Now Bruna tries one from distance. That one blocked. And into touch for an Ottawa throw. Good work by the Fury captain Lance Roseboom to win that ball and feed Gerardo Bruna, who tried to send one in from about 25 yards out. Howarth, long throw into the box. Hume with the header. And no chance taken there by Thomas Gomez, as he had to battle both where that ball was going to land and the sun, and pokes it over the bar for an Ottawa corner, now their 4th.
Yeah, he's been confident this afternoon, Graham, as you see a nice long throw there from Howarth. Hume doing what he does best, getting up, and you know what? That's a good touch from Gomez. You want to make sure you never want to let that high blooper sneak in on you.
Howarth, delivery. Going up for the header was Hume. He goes down. In possession now is Eddie Edward. Just turns and sends this one back into the box. There's a header. And that one looking towards the back post, but Gomez, Johnny on the spot to come over and collect the loose ball.
And Graham, it's interesting you mentioned the previous meeting between these teams as we get another look at that header on net. Nicely stopped by Gomez, but this game has kind of mirrored the last time these two met in Rochester about a month ago, where the Rhinos took a lead in the 19th minute and essentially just sat on it for a 1-0 victory. Now, Fury fans, of course, will be hoping that they can turn it around, but again, Fury FC creating chances here, Graham, but just not efficient, not clinical enough in the 18-yard box this afternoon thus far. Hopefully that changes in the final 10 minutes.
Well, if you've looked on those last couple of plays, there are a lot of bodies for both sides in the penalty area, and even that effort from Gerardo Bruna that certainly looked on target, it was blocked by one of the 7 green shirts that were inside the penalty area. Now it's Camden. Tries one from distance, takes a slight deflection. Easily dealt with by Callum Irving. Sends this one long. Carl Howarth making the run, trying to get in behind the back line. He'll have to contest with Wall Fall, who boxes him out perfectly. And that one out for a goal kick.
And how about the versatility we've seen from Wall Fall in this game for Rochester, Graham? He's a guy that started in kind of a, well, he was listed as a defensive mid, kind of a holding midfielder, distributing the ball kind of role. And then from there, became essentially an attacking rover along with Kennardo Forbes up front. And now that they have the lead in the second half, he's dropped back and been the leader of that back line for Rochester. Really impressive, the versatility from the German-born Rochester Rhino.
Gomez drawing some frustration from the Fury players for taking too long to get the ball back in play, and then gets the call from the official to get moving. And now we'll see the second substitute of the match coming from Rochester. And it'll be Sofian Turgu coming out of the match in place for defender Ryan Lee.
Yeah, decent afternoon for Turgu on that right flank, as didn't create a whole lot, but tracked well defensively. He was matched up with Jonathan Barden on that left flank after Barden came on, and did quite well in a defensive winger role. And again, everyone chips in. Anytime you win a game 1-0 or you're leading a match 1-0, it has to be a defensive effort, especially away from home.
Well, here's Lee getting his first few touches on the ball. And he and Eddie Edward collide at the Ottawa goal line. Edward remains down. It has gone out for a goal kick. As Edward comes up gingerly after that challenge with Lee. Reminder that Mondays, it's Ottawa's premier soccer show. Looks at the world of soccer from our local club teams to the Ottawa Fury FC, MLS, and the beautiful game across Europe and around the globe. It's Corner Kicks, Mondays at 6 on TSN 1200. Challenge there by Gerardo Bruna. That one on Ryan James, wins back possession for Ottawa. Kyle Venter. Now John Barden. Barden through the middle. Roseboom. Under all sorts of pressure from Ryan Lee. Falls, and now a chance for the Rhinos to counter. Jochen Graf slows things down. Waits for some help. Forbes tries to play it out for Camden. Carl Howarth, great defensive effort to come back and help out. Eddie Edwards' clearance was blocked and will go into touch for an Ottawa throw as we almost tick over now into the 84th minute with Fury FC trailing by a 1-0 score. Miss hit there by Callum Irving, and Del Campo's ball for Eddie Edward over his head.
Graham, I almost wonder if it might be fatigue starting to set in for the Fury. They had a nice pushback from about minute 72 to minute 80, but just absolute discombobulation at the back. Here, Callum Irving, Eddie Edward, Ramon Martin Del Campo unable to even clear their own lines here against a Rochester team that's sitting back, and you really wonder where and if the goal is going to come for Fury, because they haven't created much in the last 5-6 minutes.
DeSantos now for Ottawa.
Plays it back to Del Campo. Now Eddie Edward. Carl Howarth cuts into the middle. Carl Howarth still going. Forbes gets a touch. Falls to the feet of Gerardo Bruna. Now out to the left side to John Barden. Barden back to Bruna. Gets by his man in Graf. Tries to play it through the middle. Bruna tries to win it back for Ottawa and does. Now Eddie Edward. Edward trying to beat his man wide. Edward trying to get to the goal line. Edward still going, gets a touch. And he's won Ottawa a corner despite the protests of some of the Rochester players. A good work by the Ottawa native, Eddie Edward, to win Ottawa a set piece here, their 5th corner of the match.
And it looks like we've got a Rhino down here by the corner flag. It was the player that ran the ball out of touch, and I believe, yeah, it was Bradley Camden on that left side, and he jogs back to the middle. He's had a heck of a day defensively.
Howarth's delivery. Off the head of Farrell. Falls to Lance Roseboom. Back out wide for Carl Howarth on the near side. Touch gets away from him, but there's John Barden in support. Barden first touch, his delivery deep to the back post. Now able to keep it in play, and they have won yet another corner here. Good work by Kyle Venter at the back post. And now it's corner number 6 for Ottawa Fury FC here in the 86th minute as they look to find a way back to net an equalizer. Here's the delivery. Up for the header was Hume. Back across the face of the 6-yard box. Falls to Bruna. Goes back out for Barden. Barden slices it back inside. Can he get a delivery in here? Has to deal with Forbes. There's the cross, and it can't find anyone in red. Comes back out the near side. This time falls to Howarth, and his shot is blocked. And now a foot race for Roseboom. Roseboom gets there first. Challenge there by Ryan James. Goes into touch. Cito back in for Roseboom. Roseboom whips it across. Farrell heads that one away. Falls to Bruna. Now we find Cito in space on the near side. Cito delivers this one in, going up for the header, and that one up and over the goal as both DeSantos and Tucker Hume, who looked to be the one to get that last touch, went for that cross. And that one sent just over the bar as Ottawa pressing very hard late here in the match.
Well, Graham, it just comes down to a matter of how many chances can you go wasting. About 5 balls into the box on the last 5 minutes for Fury. A couple of clean free headers for Tucker Hume. One went over, one kind of bounced out for a corner, and you just wonder if it's going to come for the Fury. They've created the chances necessary, but again, just lacking the finish inside the 18 and even inside the 6. They've had a couple free headers from point blank.
Good win there by Lance Roseboom. Gets it to Tucker Hume, who outlets it to Carl Howarth as the captain runs forward. Howarth now draws 4 green shirts. Howarth trying to get to the goal line, will win a throw-in near the corner flag. Howarth sets up for a long throw.
We saw one of these previously create problems for Rochester.
Into the penalty area. That one headed away. Bruna wins the header. Now Roseboom. Out for Howarth. Takes a touch. Delivers this one in. That one headed away, but will it go out? It'll go out just for a throw-in. And now Rochester will get a whistle here as they make their 3rd and final substitution. And it'll be Jochen Graf, the man who stands to have scored the game winner here, will come out in place of midfielder Jalen Brown.
Yeah, good afternoon for Jochen Graf. He really did his job, Graham, and he poaches the goal away from home. It was a beautiful individual effort running off of the Ryan James ball and tracked back defensively, had a couple of nice defensive stands in his own box, and he comes out. That's a midfielder on for their lone striker. So Rochester purely in game management mode now. It's probably going to be a 5-5 if I had to guess. All hands on deck as they try and batten down the hatches and ride this one out.
Howarth with the long throw. Hume up for the header. He's tied the game. Tucker Hume. What a finish. A long throw from Carl Howarth, and the big fella goes up and gets it and sneaks it in at the back post to end the shutout streak for Gomez and tie the game at 1.
Well, that's what Tucker Hume does, Graham. He comes off the bench. He's been very active since entering the match, and We saw a previous Carl Howarth throw create problems for the Rhinos. This one, Hume just straight up wins it, and it's a perfect header off the inside of the post. It doesn't get much prettier than that off a throw-in set piece, and a design play might have taken a touch off a Rhino defender, but regardless, Tucker Hume with a beautiful finish, and Fury FC deservedly have leveled this one up. They've dominated the last 20 minutes.
Well, don't worry about anything where fatigue is concerned, because Ottawa chasing hard now as Gomez has to come out of his goal to head that one away from Steven DeSantos. Carl Howarth now for Ottawa as they try and nick one late. That one headed away by Jordan Dover. And it's all hands on deck now. 89th minute equalizer from Tucker Hume.
And absolutely, as Ottawa Fury FC deserving of at least a point in this one, Graham. The much more positive of the two sides here in the second half. And boy, oh boy, we might yet have another goal in this one.
Carl Howarth with another long throw. And Gomez not messing around with it this time, comes well out of his 6-yard box to collect that one. Now he tries to hit it long on the counter, and Roseboom gets caught as he breaks inside. Back to challenges Eddie Edward, and a great win by Eddie Edward. Wow, what a great play as Ryan Lee was away. And great work by Eddie Edward to help come back and help out.
Yeah, he's been absolutely superb in this one. Eddie Edward on that right flank. He tracks back, and it was a beautiful game-saving tackle there on Brown.
And a foul called here. And a free kick coming for Ottawa about 35, 40 yards out. And we are into stoppage time. There'll be 3 minutes added on here. Once again, it'll be Carl Howarth behind the free kick. Howarth delivers it in low. This one headed away. Kyle Venter chases this one down. And he'll let that one work out for a throw. And Carl Howarth immediately sprints over. A long throw specialist for Ottawa Fury FC. Looks to see if lightning can strike twice. Gomez out to challenge this one, uncontested from anyone in red, and tries to hit another long ball forward. This time looking for Jalen Brown. Barton plays it all the way back to Callum Irving. Irving launches it forward. That one's not going to reach Cito. Now John Barton forced all the way back to Callum Irving again. We've played 1 minute of the 3 minutes of allotted stoppage time. Bruna whips it over looking for Howarth. Gets a touch and then cleared away as Howarth was almost in behind the back line with possession. Howarth again looking for a long throw and trying to direct traffic inside the penalty area. Howarth sends this one in. DeSantos again up for the header. There's a header by Cito, but the offside flag was up. Now Gomez tries to hit it long again, and once again it's Jalen Brown looking for a loose ball. Barton boxes him out, loses possession. Now Rochester look to get going here. Here's a chance as they break in down the right side. Cleared away, and now a chance for Cito and DeSantos to get there. DeSantos heads it forward. Tucker Hume trying to get there, pokes it to Lance Roseboom. Roseboom has Cito running forward and Carl Howarth on the right and finds him. Howard tries to deliver this one in. Good challenge there by Camden to win it back for Rochester. And there's the final whistle. Well, certainly a fair result, I think, in this one, especially how Ottawa Fury FC performed in that second half. They were the one team that went for it in the second 45, and let's be honest, Carlos, short of a couple of counterattack opportunities from the Rhinos, they just sat back. They tried to defend a 1-0 lead, which is never an easy thing to do, albeit they do it quite well in this league. They tried to rescue all 3 points away from home this afternoon, but Tucker Hume's header off the Carl Howarth throw-in proves to be the difference maker, at least in the second half, as that pulled things level in the 89th minute, and that's where we finished at 1 apiece.
Absolutely, and I think 1-1 a fair result. The Rochester Rhinos dug in, got stuck in a 5-4-1 in the second half, and defended quite well for 30-35 minutes. But there came a point where the Fury, despite having used all 3 substitutions in the first hour of this match, became the aggressors. They became much more positive. I liked seeing Paul Dalglish's side open up, really go for it, and again we see Carl Howarth with that fantastic throw in. We saw 5 or 6 in the closing stages, and Tucker Hume, a fantastic header. That's what he's brought on to do. Players like him, Steven Dos Santos, great in the air today. Deserved point for Fury, and we saw they could have even had more at the end.
Yeah, and we did talk about that in the first half, with them having to burn 2 subs due to injuries to Ryan Williams and Shane McElhaney. Talked about it in conversation with Paul Dalglish at halftime, and just the fact it was 29 degrees at kickoff here this afternoon. You burn 2 of your 3 subs inside the first half, and your third one early in the second half. You could ill afford to concede a second goal, knowing that there's 3 fresh legs on the other side, or sets of legs on the other side that could come in. So that, I think, makes that point that Fury FC won this afternoon all the more special. And now we'll have a look at our man of the match for this afternoon. Well, the work ethic was tremendous from a lot of players, especially in that second half for Ottawa Fury FC. But you have to give it to the man who helped them rescue a point this afternoon, and that's the big fella, number 18, Tucker Hume.
Well, there's no doubt about it, and this match changed. The complexion of this game changed when Tucker Hume came in, because he gave Ottawa that second option off the bench. That's 2 big men that the Rochester Rhinos, who were playing 3 tall center backs, had to deal with. And at the end of the day, Tucker Hume deserved man of the match with a fantastic finish to tie this game at 1.
All right, well, this was the first of 4 consecutive home games for Ottawa Fury FC, so they score a very crucial point here this afternoon. They'll actually get to enjoy probably a much-needed break, especially with some potential injuries to Ryan Williams and Shane McElhaney here this afternoon. So they'll be off next weekend. They don't return to action until 2 weeks from today, when they host Toronto FC 2 right back here at TD Place as the homestand continues. That one, a 7 o'clock kickoff. And then as we break into the month of August, on both the 5th and the 12th, they'll have home games both at 7 o'clock at night, as both Bethlehem and Charlotte come to town. So the homestand continues. Big point 1 here this afternoon. 9 crucial points still up for grabs as the homestand continues.
Absolutely, and we know how things tight are in the USL East, Graham, especially with Rochester coming into this one 4 points up on the Fury. They maintain that pace, and that's a good result for the Fury. Now, going forward, they have to pick up at least, I'd say, 2 wins in their next 3, especially you circle that home date against Toronto FC 2. They deserved at least a point in Toronto. Now in the return leg, and later this month, they're going to want all 3 points against a TFC2 side that quite simply isn't in the playoff picture and will not be. 3 must-have points. Huge homestand ahead for Paul Dalglish's side.
2 weeks in between games, so some much-needed rest and an opportunity to prepare for that big game against TFC2. Final score from TD Place this afternoon: Ottawa Fury FC 1, the Rochester Rhinos 1. For our entire broadcast crew, our producer Mike Sutherland, for Tyler McDonald, Carlos Verdi, I'm Graham Ivory. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This has been Ottawa Fury FC Soccer.
This copywritten telecast of the United Soccer League may not be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the express written consent from the United Soccer League.